Hey, good Tuesday morning. I'm meteorologist Pete Malone. This is your around 10 a.m. update on what's going on out in the tropics as things slowly start to come back to life. It's been fairly inactive for the past about 51 days, which is quite rare for hurricane season to remain inactive this long, but it has happened. Here's what we're watching, though. You can see there out through the Atlantic, there's at least two waves the Hurricane Center is tracking right now, but there's a couple of other waves that we are watching. They're just not currently highlighted. One that's a little bit closer to home that we'll watch this weekend is one that's going to get into the Gulf. You can see that plume of moisture into the Gulf by Friday and Saturday, moving to the north by Sunday. The thing is, it does not look like it's really going to have a chance to develop, but it will be moving through the Gulf. So just wanted to mention that as we come into the upcoming weekend, you might excuse me, you might notice it through the weekend and early next week. Now, deeper in the tropics, here are the waves the Hurricane Center is tracking that are way out here. And these are waves that we watch long term. They're not an immediate threat to anyone in the United States. I know we have viewers that watch us here on out in the Caribbean islands, and these are maybe some you want to keep an eye on in the a little bit near term, but right now the chances of development do remain fairly low. So let's start with the one that's ahead, the one that is further in the Atlantic. This is Invest 90. It is barely showers and storms. It is not organized. It is not coming together quickly, and if it does try to organize, it looks like it's going to be a slow process as it moves to the west here, sped up at about 20 miles an hour. Now look at the chances of it developing, not high at all. And over the next couple of days, it's going to start to run into more wind shear and more dry air. So there are plenty of obstacles ahead of this one. And over the next 5 days, just doesn't look like it's going to do much. So that takes us into around the weekend. Now, once it gets closer to the islands out here, it's something to watch. But for now, it just doesn't look like it's going to do anything big. Once again, the reason for that, loss of obstacles. It does have a lot of dry air to the north of it. Wind shear will be increasing. So right now there is a ridge of high pressure that's sitting in that area, and as we go into the next couple of days, that ridge of high pressure actually breaks down, and wind shear with a trough would dig down across the Atlantic. This upper level trough will be imparting wind shear on Invest 90, and that will allow that dry air to really get wrapped up in this tropical wave like this, and that keeps it from ever really organizing. So this one's not moving into a good environment, and not a favorable environment is what we would say. Now, the second tropical wave is further behind, and this one is actually still sitting over the continent of Africa. We often refer to these as tropical waves, but an African easterly wave is what they're called as they develop. So this one is sitting right in here. It does have some broad circulation. It honestly looks very healthy when you look at it as satellite. But what will be interesting to see is what does it look like once it gets into the Atlantic. It'll be there by the end of this week and into this weekend. Right in here near the Cabo Verde Islands, we'll have a chance to organize. The chances right now are low, but a lot of guidance does show this trying to organize some by this weekend. So we'll watch it long term, especially if you're out towards the Cabo Verde Islands, but anyone else, this thing's so far out there that you don't really need to worry about it at the time, but keep an eye on it long term. And remember, anytime something is this far out near the continent of Africa or the coastline of Africa, it's still 10 to 14 days away from ever approaching the United States. So that is a long time in the weather world. That's a long time in the tropics, and we got plenty of time to watch it. Now, a third wave is one that the Hurricane Center is not currently highlighting. I do think they're eventually going to highlight it, but for now they're not. And it's not organized. There's nothing imminent with it, but it is a tropical wave with some moisture, and a lot of guidance has been taking this and lifting it up towards the northwest, towards the Lesser Antilles by the end of this week and into the weekend. So it could be in the Caribbean as a tropical wave, maybe trying to organize some by this weekend and into early next week. The environment in this part of the Caribbean is going to become somewhat more favorable for an organizing system. Not a ton of wind shear, and yes, some dry air, but it may not be enough to really hinder it. So this will be one we watch into the end of August and early September. So that would take it into next week and the week beyond that. So those are the three waves we're keeping an eye on. Once again, the Hurricane Center is not highlighting this one just yet, but it would not surprise me if they do throw something onto that and keep an eye on it. So as we go through the next 5 days, it does not look like anything big developing, but beyond that, 7 to 10 days, a lot of guidance models do show that the Atlantic may become more favorable for something to try to develop. We will see. We've said that a couple times now, and it really hasn't happened, but guidance does point that things start to wake up as we get into the first couple of days of September. In climatology, the history of hurricane season tells us that it would be extremely rare, almost unheard of, to not have at least one hurricane track as we head into the beginning of September. So I want to show you some of our models here, the steering currents and kind of the spin in the atmosphere. What you're looking at here is your ridge. This is your ridge steering everything. We see these little blobs of red. These are area of spin. We also call this vorticity. And these are the initial kind of tropical waves, some spin in the atmosphere. Notice as we go into Thursday, Friday, there's that tropical wave trying to lift into the Caribbean. There's Invest 90 not doing much. And then here comes our secondary tropical wave off the continent of Africa trying to wrap up. Notice a big area of spin there. So this is by Friday, by Saturday, by Sunday into Sunday of this upcoming weekend. What you're looking at here is that tropical wave maybe trying to organize some in the Caribbean. Not much left of Invest 90 north of the British and U.S. Virgin Islands. And then there is the wave coming off the continent of Africa trying to organize more. So by this weekend, we could be tracking that Caribbean wave, one north of Puerto Rico, and the secondary wave way out in the Atlantic. Notice none of them are close to the United States, even by this weekend or into the first day of September. So we've got a long way and a long time to keep an eye on these things. By the way, I know it seems like it's been dead. It has. We've enjoyed it, but history tells us, you know, September is our busiest month. Even sometimes August can be somewhat tame. Now, it's rare to go all of August without a hurricane. It's happened a couple of times, but it is extremely, extremely rare. We'll see if it happens this year. It certainly could, the way things have been going. But September is our peak month. Things can often remain active even at the end of September and then in busy seasons. Or, you know, sometimes it even remains active into October. So we still have a big chunk of hurricane season here. I know we've had the past 51 days of nothing to track, and it seems like we're done, but we are not. We're still in the La Nina. The ocean waters are still warm, those types of things. So we'll just take it day by day and see how things go. Right now, nothing's an imminent threat, but there are at least 3 areas I think we're going to keep an eye on over the next 5 to 7 days or so. But for now, things are looking okay, at least here in the United States. In the Caribbean, maybe keeping a closer eye on some of these tropical waves that are a little bit closer to home. But that's going to do it for our Tuesday morning, August 23rd Tropical Update. Thank you so much for joining me.